In April 2013, authorities uncovered a plot to kill the President of the USA when they intercepted ricin-poisoned letters. The sender, who had signed the letters with the elusive initials KC, was soon apprehended by the authorities. But the series of events that unfolded soon after this sent the investigators down a rabbit hole of bizarre events involving James Dutschke, a Mensa genius and karate instructor, and Kevin Paul Curtis, an Elvis impersonator. You won't believe how their relationship transformed into an internet rivalry spanning over multiple years, finally leading up to a plot to assassinate President Obama. Oh, and somewhere in between, there's also a conspiracy about human body parts being sold on the black market. Welcome to Bad Things. Join us today as we uncover the comedically outlandish events that inspired the brand new Netflix documentary Kings of Tupelo. First, let's briefly go over who Paul and James are and how their lives got intertwined. The case is set in Tupelo, Mississippi, a town famous for being the birthplace of Elvis Presley. Paul Kevin Curtis, an Elvis impersonator, was known for his performances and his deep admiration for the king. In his own words, he says, "My mama raised me on Jesus, Elvis, and cornbread." As a child, he was a talented young Elvis impersonator. His mother, Elois, was very supportive and even took out a bank loan to pay $3,825 for an official Elvis suit and belt made by the suit maker who created them for Elvis himself. It seems obvious that he got the Elvis fanatic gene from his mother. By his late 20s, he was thriving, running a successful janitorial service company called The Cleaning Crew, which provided a steady income to support his wife and kids. Beyond his business success, he kept his childhood passion alive by performing as an Elvis impersonator. Sharing this passion with his brother Jack, the two often took the stage together, delighting audiences with their energetic performances. Curtis also received disability payments to help manage the challenges of living with bipolar disorder, a condition that brought its own set of struggles and unpredictability to his life. Despite this, things seemed to be going well overall. He was optimistic about the future and focused on building a stable life. But all of that changed on December 17, 1999, when, in his own words, his life turned on a dime. While working as a janitor at the North Mississippi Medical Center, Curtis made a shocking discovery that would haunt him forever. One night, he was tasked with cleaning up a blood spill in the hospital morgue. Exhausted from the grueling task, he decided to look for a refreshing drink in a nearby refrigerator. But when he opened it, he was met with a horrifying sight. As Curtis later described, "The first thing I saw was an arm wrapped in plastic with a barcode, and a leg wrapped in plastic. Below this was legs, arms, feet, hands, and eyes, and a brain. He even saw the severed head of a man he had recently seen alive." This discovery made him suspicious that something illegal was happening at the hospital. The next day, Kevin was called to the office of the hospital's CEO. Here, he was presented with some documents he had to sign. The documents claimed that it was Curtis's fault as he was in an unauthorized area and that he was to be suspended without pay. Curtis refused to sign, convinced that the hospital was trying to cover up something illegal. So the administration got security guards to tackle him. Curtis was then thrown out of the hospital. Kevin, already deeply invested in conspiracy theories, became entirely consumed by the belief that the incident at the hospital morgue was connected to a black market organ harvesting operation. This newfound obsession sent his life into a steady downward spiral. His erratic behavior cost him numerous jobs, and his once-loved performances at local events became unwelcome after he began ranting about his theories on stage. Gradually, more and more people started viewing him as unhinged. His brother Jack, embarrassed and frustrated, grew increasingly concerned as Kevin's actions tarnished their reputation and led to a decline in bookings. Kevin's troubles extended beyond his career. Over the next 13 years, he was arrested 22 times for petty crimes, including cyberstalking and public intoxication. His personal life also unraveled. His house burned down, his car exploded, and his marriage began to deteriorate under the weight of his obsession. In Kevin's mind, These events were all connected, orchestrated by the same shadowy figures he believed were trying to silence him about what he had seen in the hospital refrigerator. But the reality was far less dramatic. His delusions had simply taken over his life. His wife Laura eventually left him because she couldn't handle his constant infatuation with these conspiracies. Kevin's whole life got turned upside down due to one event, yet he refused to wake up from his delusions. When told that he should stop pursuing these conspiracy theories so relentlessly, he'd say, "They ruined my career, burned down my home, my cat, my rabbit, blew up my car, destroyed my marriage, had me arrested 22 times, and you want me to quit? I will keep on fighting until Jesus Christ decides it's time for me to go." So Kevin continued to pursue his theories online. He would voice his frustrations via his MySpace account and would sign his posts with the words, "I am KC and I approve this message." He also wrote a novel called Missing Pieces, which centered on a janitor who discovers secrets in a morgue based on his own life-changing experience. He tried to get attention for his story, but got no success with any publishers or film studios. Here's where the other piece of the puzzle, James Dutschke, comes into play. Let's take a look at the timeline of the events that progressed between this friends to rivals duo. James Dutschke was a man with a diverse portfolio. He was a martial arts instructor, ran a defunct newspaper, worked in insurance for some time, and was involved in political candidacy too. James had pursued a music career with his blues band, Dusty and the Robo Drum, but it never gained much attention or success. He also prided himself on being a member of Mensa, the Society for Individuals with High IQs, and never missed an opportunity to flaunt his intelligence. Kevin came across James in 2006 while he was searching for a place to get his story published. James claimed that he'd print any story, no matter the consequences, no matter how bizarre it sounded, which seemed like the perfect place to courtesy. Kevin reached out to James, but received no response via email or phone. He later confronted Dutschke at an insurance company where his ex-wife Laura worked. Here they got into an altercation, and tensions rose between them. Dutschke was running for state legislature at the time and didn't want to print anything about the hospital because it could hurt his campaign. This clash kicked off a feud that would last for years. Since Laura and Dutschke worked together, they got to know each other pretty well. Dutschke eventually started developing feelings for her, likely because she was the nicest person to him at the office. Laura, freshly divorced from Kevin, wasn't interested in Dutschke romantically, but their friendly workplace relationship didn't sit right with Kevin. It only added fuel to his growing frustration and anger toward Dutschke. To clear the air, Laura later stated, "We didn't have an affair. I would tell you if I had an affair with him, and I did not." Kevin and James's rivalry continued to escalate online. Both of them accused each other of cyberstalking and continued bad-mouthing each other. To prove that James was stalking him, Kevin posted a fake Mensa certificate on his social media. This angered James, who took his Mensa membership very seriously. James eventually invited Kevin to sort out their differences through a physical fight at his martial arts school, but neither showed up for the confrontation. They both blamed each other for not showing up. The hatred kept brewing. James also began sabotaging Kevin's performances by warning venues not to hire him. Both men shared similar interests in music and martial arts, but sadly refused to see eye to eye. Over time, their jealousy and rivalry grew stronger. Laura believed that if circumstances were different, they might have been friends instead of enemies. It seems as if they were cut from the same cloth. James Dutschke had a long criminal past of his own. In 2012, some schoolgirls walking near his house saw a green laser pointer and found him standing naked in his window. When asked about it, Dutschke said he didn't want to talk about it. He began to be known as the local pervert. By January 2013, James was sentenced to 90 days in jail for indecent exposure and was also fined. Soon after, he faced more serious charges for touching 3 girls under 16 inappropriately at his martial arts school. The police arrested him and set his bond at $1 million. On February 21st, Dutschke's bond was lowered to $25,000, and he got out of jail. When Kevin heard of his misdemeanors, he then took to the internet, sharing news articles about James's troubles and taunting him online. Authorities believed that somewhere around this time, Kevin began sending ricin-laced letters to President Barack Obama and Senator Roger Wicker, urging them to listen to his stories. The third person who received the letter was Judge Holland. Police suspected Kevin as he had reasons to dislike Judge Holland, as she had once sentenced him to jail. The FBI quickly intercepted the letters before they reached any potential victims. Let's pause this for a moment and take a look at what exactly is ricin. Ricin is a highly toxic protein which is derived from the seeds of the castor oil plant, Ricinus communis. It is known for being a biological weapon and can be lethal in very small amounts. It is found in castor beans and can be extracted from the waste material left over from processing these beans into castor oil. The toxin is stable under normal conditions but can be inactivated by heating to temperatures above 80 degrees Celsius, 176 degrees Fahrenheit. In these letters, Kevin expressed his frustrations about the alleged conspiracy, how no one was listening or believing him. They contained phrases that matched Kevin Curtis's online posts and were signed with, "I am KC and I approve this message." This final message was the incriminating evidence that sent police straight to his door. Kevin Curtis is arrested. April 17, 2013, authorities arrested Kevin Curtis at his home in Corinth, Mississippi. At the time, Kevin lived with his beloved dog, Moo Cow, a Chihuahua Jack Russell mix. That day, he was all set to visit his ex-wife Laura to have dinner with the kids. But as he drove his car back, he was met with a startling view. Kevin was met with an army of police cars and SUVs racing towards him from multiple directions. Officers from the FBI, Homeland Security, and Secret Service had their weapons pointed straight at him. "Freeze! Do not move! We will shoot you!" shouts an officer, to which Kevin innocently replies, "Me? Shut up! Get out of the car and get on the ground." Kevin steps from his vehicle, confused as to what was going on. He was arrested and taken to Lafayette County Jail in Oxford, where he was placed in an interrogation room and chained to a seat. To add to the humiliation, he was forced to use the restroom in full view of the officers present. Officers continue to berate him with questions. They get more direct with him once they realize that he doesn't have much idea as to why he's been arrested. "Are you familiar with ricin?" Curtis, who clearly misheard them, replied, "I don't like rice. I don't really eat rice. If you'll look in my house, you won't find any rice." The officer says, "Ricin, Mr. Curtis. Ricin, like anthrax." "I've never heard of that in my life, sir," replied Kevin. The officer refuses to believe him, stating, "You're a liar." Meanwhile, the media was ablaze with fresh news about the bipolar Elvis impersonator who had tried to kill the president. Acquaintances who had known and interacted with him came forward to share their 2 cents on the matter. Curtis's family was shocked by his arrest. Of course, he was hell-bent on proving his conspiracy theories, but they never thought he'd go this far. After hours of relentless interrogation, investigators eventually realized that Curtis truly knew nothing about the crime. Despite searching his home and combing through his internet history, they found no evidence of him producing ricin, or even having any idea what it was. But the letter had been signed with his initials KC, so they began theorizing other possibilities. "Do you have any enemies? Do you know of anyone who wants to harm you?" asked an officer. That's when the name of a particular person popped into Curtis's head. A person with whom his relationship had recently turned extremely sore, James Everett Dutschke, the real culprit. April 23rd, Kevin Curtis was released from prison. Just 4 days after this, James Everett Dutschke was arrested for sending the ricin letters. Police found his incriminating internet history, including an online order of castor beans, as proof that he had sent the letters and also tried to frame Kevin Curtis. Kevin stated that the result of this feud had made his life a living hell. As news of Dutschke's arrest spread, evidence against Dutschke piled up. Witnesses said he talked about making poison and saw him throwing away items linked to ricin. Dutschke pleaded not guilty and dismissed the evidence against him as ridiculous. He claimed that the seeds he bought were just flower seeds and insisted that he would prove his innocence. He stated that they were castor seeds and were completely legal flower seeds, stuff that we've planted every single year. People in Tupelo thought that if James Dutschke did try to poison someone, he wasn't very clever about it since it didn't seem well planned. Some even speculated that he had pulled this stunt in order to avoid harsher punishment for touching minors, though this seems a highly preposterous reason. The rivalry between Kevin Curtis and Everett Dutschke grew out of jealousy and misunderstandings between two men who had quite similar dreams but couldn't get along in their small town. At first, the case against James Dutschke kept getting postponed, but ultimately he pleaded guilty to charges related to the ricin case in 2014. He ended up receiving a 25-year prison sentence for his actions. Meanwhile, Paul Kevin Curtis was cleared of all charges. Kevin Curtis now has a funny sign on his front door telling visitors not to knock because he might be sleeping or making rice. It seems as if he's fully enjoyed the attention he's gotten after the conviction of Dutschke. In a way, this whole ricin situation has turned out to be good for Kevin because he is no longer just seen as the local oddball who talks about body parts. Now he's also known as someone who was wrongly accused of a serious crime. Kevin's life is starting to feel normal again. He also got his dog, Moo Cow, back. In 2015, filmmaker Melanie Addington decided to tell the story of Paul Curtis through a documentary called I Didn't Do It. She discovered this story while working at a newspaper. Instead of seeing a dangerous criminal, she found a family man caught in an unbelievable situation. Addington felt it was important to share his story, highlighting how Curtis was framed by his rival, James Dutschke, who had his own reasons for wanting to harm him. December 11, 2024, Netflix premiered The Kings of Tupelo, made by Emmy-winning directors McLean Way and Chapman Way. This series will explore the small-town feud, internet conspiracies, and the assassination attempt on the president from multiple angles.